Well, folks, we've got a special guest on the line. I'm really, really stoked about this because we'll tell you more in a little while. But on the line, our friend of the show, been on a couple of times now, Dave Wilbert. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing great. I'm great, man. And thanks for the introduction. I am special. At least my teachers told me coming up anyway. My wife tells me I'm special all the time.
Yeah. You spend a whole program talking about that, but no, you've got new music coming out, my friend, and I really appreciate you sharing that with us. But tell us a little bit more. Since we last spoke, there's been a lot of things happening for you.
Yeah, there really has. First and foremost, thanks for having me on your platform again. Thanks for having me on the show. It really means a lot to me and all your listeners out there over in the UK and in Europe. Our current single, it's getting there right now. It's I want to say it's at number 47. It's been out, so we got another week or two on this single. We really got hurt through the holidays.
Yeah.
The charts freeze for a couple of weeks, so we lost a little bit of momentum, and it takes a little time to reestablish that foothold. But it's been a great song for us. I think we'll probably end up somewhere around 40, for this record. But I'm real proud of it. I just think it's a great song.
Yep.
So, but one of the really cool things that has happened, going into Thanksgiving and Christmas, really all I wanted for Christmas was a booking agent. That's what I wanted to come up under my tree.
There's a single.
Yeah, or a manager of some kind, because I needed somebody to come on and kind of help me from making mistakes and, maybe expedite the process a little bit. So lo and behold, prayers were answered here just about a month ago, not quite a month ago, I guess, but I don't know, 3 weeks or so. An old boy that was a big time manager, booking agent, road manager for some big acts a few years ago. I talked him out of retirement. Brilliant. And he is on board, and I'll be giving you his information offline today. And I'm very thankful because he has the credibility, in the relationships within the industry to kind of help move this thing along much more expeditiously than I can, So his name's Eddie Blunt, and he's worked with some major acts, Joe Diffie and Tim McGraw and Blake Shelton, Montgomery Gentry, and John Michael Montgomery, on and on and on. So he has a very strong repertoire of artists. So, and he's in my corner now. So
wow, he's got the bucket, he's got the towel, he's ready to go. Ding ding, round one.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, anyway, great guy to have on board, and just looking forward to see what we can do together.
And obviously, there's been new music in your mind for a while, and you're pushing it forward. Tell us a little bit more about that. What have you been putting on paper?
Yeah, so I've written something. I'm in the middle of one right now that I haven't finished. It's actually about my wife, so I can't talk too loud about it. I'm working on it with Jason Matthews, a big, incredible songwriter here in town, and we had a couple follow-up writing dates on the books, but unfortunately, his wife had gotten COVID. Each time, 2 different times, and so we've kind of had to push back out and reschedule. But I'm going to get with him and hopefully get this thing finished up. It's a song that'll be near and dear to me, and then as a matter of fact, I was just listening to some new tunes. I was doing like a pitch meeting last week, listening down to some new material, and I've got a handful of new things that I'm really excited about. Some of these things I've known for a long time, but for whatever reason, I just really couldn't. They just, at the time, I wasn't singing them right, or they just didn't fit, or whatever. But the great thing about great songs is they really don't have expiration dates. So I found some real nuggets, and I'm excited to be going back in the studio here before too long to cut some new stuff. But we've got a whole bunch of product, content still available from the first project. We'll probably have another 3 or 4 singles come off this project before we move on to the next one. I mean, it's just stuffed full of things that I want to make sure people hear, and it's kind of like a business card, or that's what gets people out to show. So, some songs may resonate with others, with more people than others, vice versa. You know what I mean? So just trying to give them as many opportunities to hear something they like.
Yeah, that there's been definite change in, and rightly so, because as an artist grows, the different topics change. Where it started was like country cruising, the party atmosphere, 90s kind of vibe. You're getting into some serious stuff now, aren't you?
Well, I think we're migrating a little bit that way. And I wrote a song, and it will be put out at some point. And it's a fairly edgy, serious song. Again, I wrote with Jason, but it's called "The World's Gone Crazy." And it's very poignant with what's going on in the world, with what's going on in Ukraine and Russia and Canada, over the place. It's just insanity, right? So this song is about that. Even though the time when we wrote it, obviously we didn't know that all the stuff was going to evolve with Canada and the Ukraine and Russia, but it's very poignant. So that'll be coming out as well. And it is a subject matter. It's not as lighthearted as the other stuff you've probably known from me the last 2-3 songs.
Yeah, I mean it is quite interesting, and I think the fact that you didn't know about Ukraine or Canada, the fact that the human race just has this nasty habit of actually doing stuff that's just crazy. It's just human beings, isn't it? But it's, well, I don't want to go into a political kind of rant at the moment, but you're just thinking to them, listen, just want to hug. Come over here, man. Let's just hug it out. What's going on? It's just crazy. We've had COVID. The planet's suffered globally, and then they come along and go, I tell you what, we'll just take this a little bit back if that's all right with you. And the world's going, no, not really. You can't have it back.
Yeah.
And it's just
anyway, it's very frustrating. And Jason and I had written this song. Like I said, we wrote it not with any of that obviously in mind, because that wasn't
no
current state of affairs. It wasn't going on. So we wrote it last year, but really just kind of got it to the point where I've got it where I'm comfortable playing it out, and I've got it to where I want it to be as far as in the right groove. And got to live with the song for a bit before because it could have been just one of those great all-time campfire songs, but I think it has the potential to do more than that. I think it's going to, hopefully get people to think, for a minute.
And I think that's what we all want, just to take that little bit of extra minute and breathe. And the good thing about country music is it does pour out emotions, whether rightly or wrongly, ups and downs, love, hate, it all gets in the melting pot, doesn't it?
Sure does.
But no, it's and have you managed to play any of these songs live just to get an audience reaction?
Yeah, I have, and the one I just talked about, "The World's Gone Crazy," it's just amazing. It's an instant, it's an instant type reaction. I was actually playing it on a radio in excuse me, I was in St. Louis on a radio show in person, and I played it on the air. The DJ, the program director, was like, "You need to play it, just play it," And I was a little, well, it's a little edgier than most of my stuff. He's like, "No, play it." So I played it, and sure enough, I received a message when I got back to the hotel that night via, I think, TikTok, from a truck driver that was driving through St. Louis, listening to that station, listening to the interview. When he heard that song, he said, "Man, that's exactly how we feel. You got to put that song out." So it was great to have that type of immediate, response and immediate gratification, if you will. So, or reassurance.
Well, no, that's brilliant. It could have gone another way where they're listening to it on the radio for the first time. We're going to cut to a break. We'll see you in 5.
Yeah. Now the funny thing is, I don't know how many people actually heard it and turned the channel. There probably were much more of those.
No. I mean, that's the great thing about your songwriting. One of the things I love about your music is there's a broad spectrum on that. I mean, yes, it's heavily influenced in the 90s, which we've talked about before. And like I said, in the UK at the moment, it is so, it's one of those genres in country music, the 90s, that is still in vogue over here, and we still crave for that. And I'm listening to more and more people now, the more interviews I've been doing this year, and listening to somebody else's new music, and they're bringing that vibe into the songwriting and melody lines as well, you know. So
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear it in the melody lines for sure.
yeah.
Have a long void of melody coming out of Nashville for a few years. So I hope it comes back. Becomes a staple of the new sound. Which really, it's just sound. It's just
Well, it is.
My buddy Eddie, who I was talking about, he told me, he said, you're really just kind of people are going to say 90s, he said, but really you're just neo-traditional. He said, that's really marketing. He said, it's not, because it's new. He said, it's not 30-year-old music. No. So he said, you got to be a little bit careful. He's like, be careful. Don't call yourself 90s music, because people are going to think that, you were out in the 90s. And I said, no, I don't think that's the case. He said, well, it's really kind of it's kind of that neo-traditional. It's the same thing, but I'm excited. I think it's good. I think, like we said before, great songs don't have expiration dates. It doesn't matter if they're yesterday or 20 years ago,
No, and I quite agree with you on that one. And I mean, anybody who's in the music industry, for whether it's radio, an artist, producer, etc. We know the political game that goes along with the charts, so you get 5 artists in the top 10. You're going, hang on a minute. So that at least one of them will reach the summit, and it's backed heavily. And some will take, like the F1 motor racing, somebody will take the hit, so the other one will go forward. We know it goes on. So for you, with the other single that came out, to hit the heights of 40, that is no mean feat in today's terms.
Yeah, number 37. We made it number 37 on the first one. I think this one, unfortunately, I don't think we'll pass 37, but there's some reasons why we really wouldn't go beyond 30 anyway, because 25% of the music row charts don't play independent artists. So you're not going to get played. It doesn't matter how good it is. You know what I mean? You're not going to be heard. So, and to me, that's the real crime. I think music, I don't think we should be putting, lockers or preventions or obstacles in the way of people's hearing music. Let it be played. Just play it. And if people like it, they'll let you know. If they don't, they won't. It's simple. Yeah. It's so controlled by money, and unfortunately, that's just the business, as you well know. So, to make it 37 and probably 40 respectively, I mean, I'm very proud of those two things, but I'm also aware now, no matter what it is, if 25% of the, of your approachable market doesn't play your record, you're not going to break it. You're not going to break 30,
Well, that's the great thing about like the independent radio stations over here, not just mine. I mean, there's loads of country stations now in the UK. But I mean, there is a national one on the DAB network, and they've moved from being, a predominantly country one into a group of different genre, but they still class themselves as country. And every hour on the hour, it's chart. They might throw in the odd program where it's like doff our hat to traditionalism, but then you're listening, and I put something on Facebook recently, and I'm going, and I love this group to bits, one of my favorite groups of all time, but they're playing Fleetwood Mac on a country program, and I'm going, what? But it's the same song, Go Your Own Way.
Oh yeah.
No matter what time of day, I might be at night, and I'll go, oh, what's going on here? Because I can't reach the other channels. Fleetwood Mac again, the same song, and it's like, what, but thankfully with the onset of web and stream, that a lot of radio shows are popping up regionally that can be sourced around the world, as and this is why we like people like yourself coming on board and then play your songs. We've no axe to grind. We can play it, and we'll plug it as much as we possibly can. And that's what we want to be seen for over here, to be honest with you, because we know our music and we know our country music, and we're not going to be hoodwinked. I mean, I think going back quite a few years now, Toby Keith, his last gigs over here, played a quite a smallish theatre in Manchester, not far from here. And I was near the front, and I heard him say to the audience, and he was going, we love it over here because we can play our album stuff, and you don't care, the album stuff. We don't have to throw, this is our latest number one. We'll throw you an album and you'll know it.
Right. And that's what I can remember that too. When I was growing up, man, I'd wear records out to the point where they wouldn't play anymore.
Yeah.
And you know, I'd wear them out because I knew every song on I didn't really care necessarily what was on the radio. I just listened to the whole album, the whole project. You know what I mean? Like when I'd go see a show, man, I know every song they were going to play, you know, and I was excited if they played one I didn't know, that means new music was coming out, you know?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I'm like that with Garth Brooks. I'm a huge Garth Brooks fan, you know, massive Garth Brooks fan. But when we were talking on our little chat room with the guys and stuff, and it was on about, you know, which songs you like and all that. And I went, Lonesome Dove, Garth Brooks,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and Rope in the Wind album.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a, you know, I never released it as a single, but it's one of my favorite storytelling songs of all time.
Great song.
You know, and he has all these big hits, which I love. But every time that it rains off the first album, love it. I covered it so many times. And I just, and again, you know yourself, and everybody's individual in what they like and what they don't like.
Sure.
You know, and that's what makes the world go round. And it, you know, you just like what you like. And again, I think that is, without laboring the point too much, that's what the independent radio stations worldwide, I won't just say the UK, is we're in tune with that, and we want to play more that maybe artists they've not ever heard of, or an album cut that they've never heard of, because like I said, we're not being funded by the big and rich to put the guys and girls up the charts.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, and I just wish there were more stations like that had that attitude. You know, they're just listening for great music, and they're going to put it out. And they're going to let their, you know, consumers decide. You know, right? Their listeners decide what they like and what they don't, rather than some consultant that works for a label telling you that, hey, you need to play the new DW record because it's the hottest thing going, when when it's not. You know what I mean? So there's just a lot of that. You know, we're making a slight pivot. You know, we're going to support our true independents like you that are truly independent radio stations, but we are making a pivot, and that's, I wanted to kind of share that with you. You know, this next song we're going to be talking about, and I think you're going to play it in a little bit. I mean, this is going to be the next single. You are getting the worldwide premiere. I called Eddie before. I said, hey man, I want Paul to do the world premiere over in the UK, and he just loved it because he's a big fan of the UK and going over there and playing, and he knows how much folks over there really respect kind of that neo-traditional country sound. And he just said, man, let's just go for it. Let's let him run with it, have a ball with it. So that's what we're going to do. And but we're going to the song that you're going to play in a bit. We're not going to literally carry it out to all the radio stations, at least not yet. We're gonna do this thing with true independents like yourself, and we're gonna use the streaming platforms, you know, Pandora and Spotify and Apple, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all those different mediums, and try to kind of build up some, you know, just use all those to deploy all of those and get some good feedback and hopefully get some good momentum and groundswell. Because we have to be able to break through, you know, I mentioned those stations that won't play independent artists. We have to have something compelling to get them to play me. You know, I mean, that's just so we're kind of stepping back, we're refortifying our forces, if you will. And then we're going to come back at it like, you know, just like TNT, you know, and come at it hard. So
yeah,
it's strategic, but we're going to I want to utilize folks like yourself that have been really kind to me over the last year and a half, and give you guys the material. You know, I don't care if you play it over there, obviously. And then there's other folks like you over in Scotland that are doing us great service too. But we're just going to have to figure out a way to break down those barriers, you know, because there's too many large markets that aren't playing the records for no other reason than what you said. They're getting pumped up by corporations to promote their artists and or keep artists like me from getting a level playing field.
No, you emailed me just prior to coming on, and I was like so bowled over when you said you're going to have the exclusive on this. I'm like, whoa. and we'll finish off with you explaining about the song at the end. But before then, I just want to, and I know I've asked you this before, but the Mount Rushmore question, now I've changed it. Similar kind of question. It's just like lots of new country songs. They've rehashed it, but
Uh-huh.
but basically what it is, I wrote a song recently, and it was all designed around, and in my thoughts, around this time, near enough last April. It was, like I said, my 60th birthday, and one of the lockdowns had eased over here, so we got the guys had invited us all. We got tents around a campfire. I had steaks going on, beer, passed the guitar around the
Love
fire
that.
pit. So I called it Fire Pit Friends, and it's all about
Uh-huh.
having friends that lift you up when you're down, and
Sure.
don't just leave them, laying in the ground, pick them up. And so I wrote a song around that, and somebody said to me recently, they said, "Why don't you ask a question around fire pit?" So my question is,
Mhm.
Mr. Wilbert, you've got 5 guests that you can invite to your fire pit party, and it
Mhm.
could be past, present, it could be family, it could be religious, it could be anybody.
Mhm.
Who would those
Sure.
5 people be?
First would be my grandfather on my paternal side. I never knew him. Um, and I think he was a pretty interesting fellow. I think I seem fairly mild mannered. I am 99% of the time, but when I get a case of the red ass, you better watch out. And his nickname was Red.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He was like 5'5", 5'7", something like that. Little short contractor on the East Coast. Built a lot of the Eastern Seaboard and on the Jersey Shore, I should say. And he had a reputation of being a little scrappy when he needed to be. So definitely him. Merle Haggard for sure. That's 2. Let me think if there's any. Those 2 for sure. I would probably say probably Prince. I know he's an oddball, and he'd be an odd man out, but what a genius when it comes to music. Just incredible, just a freak.
Yeah, yeah.
Aretha Franklin would be.
Wow.
I think we're at 4.
Yeah.
I think Jesus Christ would be too obvious of an answer. I mean, obviously, if you have one person to pick, that would be the ultimate.
Yep. I mean, he's been in a lot of fire pit parties that I've asked, actually.
Yeah,
JC.
but I think I would go probably a different route, because I think everybody um, mm, who else? Who would the 5th one be?
Any member of the family apart from your granddad?
Well, I have my father, my grandfather.
Yeah.
Probably my son.
Good
Probably.
one. How old is he?
He's 18. He's serving in the U.S. Army right now.
Oh, brilliant. God bless him.
Yeah, it's down just north of Savannah, a little town up there in Fort Stewart, Georgia. So that's probably the 5 I'd have.
Lovely. Absolutely brilliant. It's a good diverse crowd in there. I can imagine Prince having the guitar but being very quiet. I can imagine him being really quiet and sturdiest. But then, yeah, you've got Merle Haggard going, yeah. I mean, somebody did mention Merle Haggard once, Jesus Christ, and Garth Brooks around the fire. And I'm going, I'd pay to go and watch that one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or Willie Nelson and Jesus Christ. That was another cracking one,
Yeah.
But it's great. And it tells me a little bit about you as well, a bit more deeper about your inspirations coming through. You've got a soulful, Aretha Franklin, soulful, same with Prince, but also you got your country roots and family that's inspired you, or deep in your thoughts with your late granddad, which is a cool thing. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Finally, tell us more about this song that you're giving us a world exclusive, and we're going to play it.
This is the world exclusive. It's called My Last Supper. And, it's more of a ballad. It's a story song, very, very vivid imagery. When people hear it, hopefully they'll be able to capture it in their mind's eye pretty quick. It was written by 3 stellar songwriters, Monty Criswell, Lee Thomas Miller, and Jim Rushing. Jim Rushing wrote a lot of the Garth Brooks stuff that you've talked about. He wrote Honky Tonk Bar Association.
Oh, one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a big time writer. Green Beret, matter of fact. This town post-Vietnam, and I mean the story about him. If you ever have a chance to kind of learn about Jim Rushing, it's pretty intense. It's pretty the real deal, man. So anyway, just a great song. That certainly has religious overtones, and that's kind of well, that's not the reason we were always going to put the song out, but I was kind of like, we're coming off the single we're on right now. We have this week and next week, and we'll be that single will have run its course. And I wanted a song, April or Easter's a little late this year, so I wanted to have a song. This song's perfect. It's about my Last Supper and who would you invite. Obviously Christ had his Last Supper with his disciples. I'm certainly not Christ, but there's two things I know: there is a God, and I'm not him. Right. But it's who would you invite if you have one last meal on this earth? Who would you invite to that table? And it's just the melody is just beautiful. The imagery is just spectacular. And I think hopefully people dig it, and for me, I think the world needs to hear it. That's the other reason. There's a lot of chaos going on, man. And to your point, I think it'd be better if we just hugged it out a little bit, So
I do think children of like up to the age of 7 should run the country or countries just for a couple of years. Just there you go. We've screwed it up. You crack on,
I don't believe it'd be any worse.
No, you can just imagine him in the playpens, just talking on Zoom to their other ones and coming up with more sense than a lot of these others put together.
That's bad. Bad deal. But without further ado, let's hear it. Last Supper. I'll let you know.
Well, thank you. No, thank you so much, Dave. I might pinch. No, I was going to say it's like my fire pit song. Who would you invite? You just inviting for your Last Supper. So I might pinch that for Easter.
Good.
But thank you so much, Dave. I really, really appreciate you giving me the first sort of official look at this, and it is an amazing single. I just listened to it before we came on, and this is Dave Wilbert and The Last Supper. You take care, my friend. You and your family. Stay safe and stay well. And I'll see you next time around.
All right. God bless.
Adios, amigo.
If tomorrow's my last day on earth and my last supper was tonight, if I had to sit and make my list of the faces I'd invite, I'd choose the ones I'd miss the most and those I'd like to thank for the many blessings in my life, for the things I am and the things I ain't. This meal could never start without my daddy offering up his words of grace, for the loving hands to fill this table. No one could take my mama's place. Coach Gibbs, who showed me in 4 short seasons how to take a hit and get back up. Miss Johnson, who gave me the sweetest gift of losing myself inside a book. If tomorrow was my last day on earth and my last supper was tonight, I'd save 2 places for 2 old faces and make some old wrongs right. To one I'd say the words I'm sorry, they're way past overdue. To the other say I've always loved you. A brother's hard to say that too. There'd be that fire and brimstone bath Baptist preacher who led me to the cross. And my best friend who stole my girl, we were self-proclaimed teenage outlaws. I'd have Grandpa sitting by Uncle John, tell their old war stories, show off their scars, thank them for the freedom they bought with their purple hearts and silver stars. And right next to me at my last supper, there'd be a scene for someone who has made my life so complete. And darling, that someone